Some folks will like you and some that just won't. Some that stay real and some that just don't. Trying to fit in will only take you so far. You'll never find home trying to change who you are. So don't spend your whole life trying to be what you ain't. You can't hide your heart with a new coat of paint. You think they'll accept you, I promise they can't. It's just be who you are, forget what they think. So just be who you are and forget what they think.
Welcome to Vet with a Mic, content driven by veteran issues. Today we are talking to an outstanding gentleman by the name of Pikey, U.S. Army veteran, and one who is doing some great work out on the West Coast with the veteran homeless population. How you doing, man?
What's up? How's it going, Ryan?
Man, I really cannot complain. I say that every episode, though. I'm hoping it'll stick.
Right.
You know, I'm a sailor by my history, and you know, there's an old saying within the uniform: a complaining sailor is a happy sailor. So I'm trying to go against the grain, maybe.
So yeah, it's kind of, man, it's good today, but it's funny out here in California, man. It never rains, and today it's raining. So
wow, yeah,
stuck inside. It's crazy because on the East Coast, when it snows, people are stuck inside. When it rains, people are stuck inside here.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it. What's the old saying? The weather falls on the just and the unjust alike. Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your time in the uniform, man. I mean, I know that you were from what you got out in 2002. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a rough childhood, a lot of mental, physical, sexual abuse. So I learned at an early age to kind of be on my own, make my own decisions. That's the only way I was going to survive. My stepfather was in special ops. He was in the Navy. So you understand what I mean by that special ops part. Yeah. So he was a team member there. So I grew up pretty rough, old school, you know. So I was, you know, locked up when I was a kid from like 12 to 16. I was one of those juvenile delinquent kids, didn't give a shit about school and not realizing how it would affect my future. And that started catching up with me. And then when I got out when I was 16, got a job. I moved out real fast. I moved out when I was 16 just because of what was going on in the household.
Right.
But I went down to a recruiter's office. It was just kind of everybody in my family's been in the military in one way or another. I mean, that's not why I went in, but it was just natural to me. So I went down to a recruiter's office at 17, walked right into the Army recruiter's office and was like, what do I got to do? They were like, well, you're only 17. You can't sign off. So I was like, get all the paperwork ready. I went home. I told my mom, I said, a phone call's coming in. You guys need to sign off so I can get out of here. So that's how my journey started.
Yeah. You know, it's a common story. You know, I talked with a buddy just the other day about how most of us are almost island of misfit toys in a lot of ways, because we come from pretty, let's just say, economically disadvantaged backgrounds. And for a lot of us, you know, joining the uniform is a way to change your station in life. You know, we're either running from something, whether it's our own potential or from some situation that we got to get the hell out of. For a lot of us, that's our come to the uniform kind of story, is a lot of, let's just say, turmoil to get us there. Right.
I think that makes the best soldiers, though, man, really. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because a lot of soldiers came from those broken homes and when they were kids, and abuse and addiction. And we've had to learn how to survive on our own in one way or another. So we're either running away from something, but towards something else, and we don't always know what that is.
Yeah. I actually had a former recruiter of mine He called it running away and joining the circus.
Hell yeah.
Uniform. Yeah. I mean, one way or the other, it's going to be different, right?
It's definitely a fucking sideshow. I can tell you that.
So what was your job in the Army then?
So when I first got in, it was a 13 Romeo, which was a radar firefinder for field artillery. Did a ton of time. I did my basic and AIT at Fort Sill. Either hot as shit or freezing cold there. There's no in between. So I went through all that. I did really well. I excelled going through the classes. And not only that, if they tell you if you don't pass that, you're going to be a gun bunny on the 105 or 155 howitzers. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm not doing that. So I made sure I got through that. And then, I got stationed right away at the 82nd Airborne at 2nd and 319th, which was crazy. Because not being airborne at the beginning to get stationed there is pretty crazy, Right. So I'm pretty sure after I got there within my unit, within a month or two, I was sent to Airborne School. So you have to hold wings there.
I was about to say, if you want to eat, you better go.
Yeah, right. So I went Fort Benning, Georgia, and went down there. I mean, Airborne School for me was easy. A lot of guys come out of basic and AIT and go there because it's in their contract or whatever. I got in. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to get away from home, start something new. So I was kind of learning the process as I went. Got through Airborne School. Obviously, it was hot as hell because it was during the summer, Fort Benning, Georgia. So, like I said, I got through that pretty easy. And right after graduation, got my wings pinned on where I'm walking back to the barracks to get my shit. And Rangers are there for RIP, Ranger Indoctrination Program. And they're like, hey, where are you going? And I'm like, back to the 82nd. They're like, well, you want to stay here and go through RIP? And I'm like, fuck it. Right. They're like, throw your duffel bag on here. So we threw our shit on there and we're all standing around the deuce. And they're like, let's go. We start getting in and they're like, no, get off the deuce. So we had to run to the barracks to RIP. So it was about 5 miles. I mean, went through that for 2 weeks and then got my class for Ranger School. I went straight through, didn't have any issues, which was really lucky because a lot of people do have issues going through there, either hurt or something.
Right, yeah.
Going through. But like I said, at that point, I was 18, 19 years old, man, and just ready to go. And all that anger and everything from the past was just fueling me to be better than anybody around me. So I got through that. Obviously, we get awarded our tab, but we can never go to a Ranger unit because I'm not infantry.
Right.
So at that point, I only enlisted at the beginning for 2 years. So pretty much as soon as I was done with basic AIT, Airborne School, and RIP and then Ranger School, my time was pretty much almost up.
Right. Yeah.
So I reclassed at that point when I re-up, and I re-up for another 6 years, and I went to be 19 Delta, which is a Cav Scout. Same thing I was doing, but on the ground, in 6-8 man teams. So
yeah.
It was the closest I could get back to infantry because I love that shit that I could without having to go through basic and AIT again. I ain't going through that again.
Sure.
I already went through it once. So, but then I got, I was back at Fort Bragg for a little bit, and then they transferred me. I went to the 1st and the 509th down there. I actually, after I reclassed, I had to go to Fort Knox, Kentucky to reclass. Once we got done there, I got sent to a non-airborne unit, which I was pretty pissed off about. So how I went to the 1st and the 509th, walked right into the sergeant major's office and asked to speak to him. I told him I have orders to go down the street today, but I want to be here. I didn't get all this and be airborne to be a leg. So he kicked somebody else out that didn't want to be there, cut my orders to be there, and I stayed there. So the 1st and the 509th was pretty cool because we pretty much trained people to go overseas. We were out for opposing forces. It was fun. Usually when people go to JRTC or NTC, they hate it because it sucks because you're on the losing end. But when you're on floor, you're not the losing end. So, but it was a good time, man. It was really, really good. Met a lot of awesome guys. You know, and then came everything for 9/11. I mean, I got deployed a couple times before that to Bosnia and Kosovo. Peacekeeping mission stuff there. But once 9/11 hit, stuff started getting crazy. So, you know, we're pretty much deployed all the time. So, you know, I'm not going to get too much into that because a lot of people tell those stories, but obviously it was rough. You know, we lost a lot of people, a lot of guys. It was a rough time. And, but I always, you know, when I was home, I wanted to be there. But when I was there, I wanted to be home. It just never made no sense to me, you know?
Sure.
But, I mean, pretty much for the gist of it, I mean, that was pretty much it about my military experience, you know, being in. It helped me grow up from being a 17-year-old to in my 20s. It helped me learn honor, respect, and integrity, how to treat people correctly, how to be on my own, how to be resilient, how to pick yourself back up, never quit. You know, as they always say, fake it till you make it. It works. So, I mean, I learned a lot in the military, and I don't take not one decision back about being in. When times got rough is when I went to get out. That's when it really started. So,
let's talk about how things felt after the uniform then, because all of those operations in which you kind of describe, those have their cost, obviously. But one of the things that may be a little less obvious to most that we've talked about here is once you've been outside of the country and you've seen different parts of the world, your worldview shifts. And coming back into the American population again, I know I felt really disconnected. I did not have a lot to relate to people with anymore after being overseas for what was essentially my entire contract. The military got their money out of me as well. So but I make this joke all the time. So by the time my EAOS, which is our ETS, whenever it was coming, man, there was a me-sized hole in the wall, just Looney Tunes stuff. That I was ready to get out that badly. But whenever I had gotten back, I just didn't feel connected to people the same way anymore. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah, it was funny because after trying to get away from home, that's where I went back to. It was weird being around all my friends and seeing them out because I progressed so much and they didn't. So there's my first disconnect. My second one is just the simple things throughout the day. You know, we'd be walking somewhere and I'd be 10 paces in front of everybody. It's like, hey, let's not waste any fucking time. Let's roll. Let's go. Like, this is where we're going. Eating. I'd blow it down, man. Like this. I'm like, dude, why don't you enjoy this? And I'm like, this is what I'm trained. This is what we do. And it's so hard to give up those little things because you've done it for so long. I felt, you know, on my way out, they're like, oh, do you think they're prepping you? We'll help you with your resume and we'll help you this and we'll see what jobs you can get. I thought when I was going to get out, they're like, yeah, man, they give prior service this and give them this. And I'm like, great, man, this is awesome. This was all worth it. I didn't see any of that damn shit. I was overqualified, not qualified enough. My military service didn't transition over to civilian life. So, you know, I fell back into, I mean, I was alone. People didn't understand me. They thought I was very angry. I felt, I never said it out loud, but I always felt that people owed me something. But the funny thing is how I got myself out of that was, how the hell are they supposed to know that they owe me anything? Nobody owes me anything, first of all, because I'm the one that volunteered for this. But that's what I felt because of everything I did, you know. the disrespect that people would do, it just burns me. It still burns me to this day sometimes, but I find ways to deal with it, but it was difficult. It's been a lonely path. And don't get me wrong, I have a ton of friends now, a ton of followers, a ton of people that help us do what we do. But there's days that I feel alone, and that's a tough thing to get over. And that's what puts you into that mindset of I am alone. And you start going down that dark path. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was working shit jobs. And I was like, I'm too good for this, or this isn't good enough for that. And I'd quit and start somewhere else and go somewhere else. And I was just hopping all over the place, trying to find myself,
Yeah. It's funny. I said something similar. I spent about at least a year just kind of floundering about, man. I didn't know who I was now. I really didn't. And you're right. We spend so much time in the uniform, and it's funny, you kind of alluded to this a little bit ago. When you're over there, you're thinking about coming home. When you're at home, you're thinking about going back over there. Yeah. And that's the way we live in the military. The whole time we spend preoccupied with the future, what we're going to do when we get out, what we're going to do when we're on leave. It really robs us from the moment of being present, like in just the right now. But whenever I would go back, I went back to my hometown. It was like being in a tomb. It was this, I didn't live there anymore. People would come up to me and speak to me as if they knew me. They had this familiarization with me. And I remember thinking, you have no idea who I am.
Right.
How can you speak to me as if you understand who I am? Because I felt that different after. And this was, of course, that really dawned on me my first leave while I was in the desert. I came back home, and there were people that I went to high school with. They'd see me, and they'd come up and approach me. And I always remember just thinking, why are you talking to me? Like, right. You're a stranger to me. I don't know you. But let me ask you this then. When you connect with other veterans, do you still feel alone in that moment?
It depends on what veterans I'm speaking to. I think sometimes I don't feel alone in the sense that I know there's brothers and sisters around me that they do understand because they've been through stuff as well. I don't know. I think honestly, from what I went through in a childhood and having to be on my own, and then what I pushed myself to be in the military, I think that I still feel alone around some of these people. I feel like I've done, and this is no disrespect to anybody, I just feel like sometimes I've been so many more places and done so many more things, and I've had to bring myself back from that darkness so far. Even though I'm not alone, I feel alone sometimes. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to kind of explain, it's I have people that'll be there for me, and I'll definitely be there for them. It just, not everybody's always the same, and not everybody always works through what they've been through in the military the same, and we're all at different processes.
Sure.
And my huge problem is I'm always putting people high expectations. And my thing is, I've done in the last year, and it's helped me out tremendously, is I let people set their own expectations, because if I set them and they don't, hold up to them, then I'm angry. I want to call it quits. I don't want nothing to do with you,
Yeah.
So I let people set their own expectations, and it's helped me out quite a bit. I just, it's hard. I always feel like people should be on my level, and that's not true, and that's not correct to think. And that's my mindset that I need to change on a constant basis. Like, why don't people have more integrity? Why aren't they more honest? Like, let's give a little bit more respect to people. Like, those things are huge to me. And when you don't get them, even with the other brothers and sisters that are around, I still feel alone. But I also tell myself, I don't know what they've been through, and I don't know what today they've been through, and they don't know what I've been through today.
Yeah.
Just, smelling a certain smell, or or hearing a certain sound, it puts you in a mindset. You might not jump under a table if you hear a firework, but it'll put you in a mindset, and sometimes you don't always know it.
Right.
And that's where I think we all need to have a lot more understanding with each other, and the civilian community needs to have.
Yeah.
I think we get looked at in a negative manner. They think everybody that comes back has PTSD. Not that that's a problem. They think that everybody is raging and is angry and wants to fight or kill themselves or other people. And for the most part, we all go through those pieces. I tried to explain sometimes, you know, to my wife, even, it's like, she's like, she knows I'm going through stuff sometimes because I'm just sitting on the couch and I'm just quiet. I'm still interacting, but I'm quiet. But she knows. And she's like, you want to talk? My main thing is, I would love to, but if I tell you what's going on in my mind and how I'm thinking, it's going to put her in a mindset of worrying about me. So being a veteran, and I know a lot of us do this, if not all of us, we shelter the people around us from the anger, the hatred, or the sadness that we go through, because we know how hard it is. And we don't want our loved ones to have to go through that too. But then that ultimately puts them in a mindset that they're going through something. You know what I'm saying? It's like a catch-22.
No, I do. Believe me, I understand. It's something that you said, though, that reminded me of a previous conversation. Is you're right. There is a stereotype about veterans, and there's two types of stereotypes about veterans, and I think both of them are a heavy weight to bear. The first one is the one that you alluded to, is this negative stereotype, this unhinged veteran, that we all have a certain disposition, that we're salty, and we killed people, and all the, to be honest with you, jackassy interactions that we have with the civilian population. But the other one, it can be just as heavy, in my estimation, almost heavier. It's the positive stereotype, is that we are these heroes and we have to be almost perfect, and we have to uphold the standard of the people who have came before us, those who've lost their lives, those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. And that really removes the context to be human and to be messy and not be okay at times, and to feel like, you know what, I don't want to talk about that right now. We always have to have this quiet dignity and poise all the time, this military bearing, and that isolates us and alienates us from other people too. So I think it's like, you're right, it's a catch-22. It's this sword that cuts both ways. You don't want to be too real, if you will, and confirm this unhinged veteran stereotype, but at the other side of the coin, so to speak, if you allow yourself to look too flawed, you may let down your brothers and sisters who have served before you, and that's just a weight that we're not really willing to put down.
Yeah, it's man, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like, it's that to me is the positive part, is the bigger burden, believe it or not, for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
especially what we'll get into later about what I do. It's it's this that stereotype as well, that I hear it all the time. Well, I couldn't serve, but you served this country, and thank you for your service. I'm telling you, it literally took me 17 years for people, when they say thank you for your service, for me to go, you're welcome. Because people would say it, and I'm like, it was my job. And I had this conversation with my wife about 2 years ago, and I'm like, I just had an epiphany one day, and I was like, I feel ignorant as shit right now when I say that to people. Like, and I went to her and I said, what should I say? And she was like, all you need to do is say you're welcome. That's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's still hard for me. So when somebody says it, I still pause, and I'm like, it's like, I got to freaking force myself to say it, because I know they mean it. And I know obviously I meant it. It's just, it's a tough thing. It's that holding you up to that standard. And I'm one of those people that my standards for myself are huge.
Yeah.
I never want to fail. I'm always excelling to be the best. And I never want to fail. And then I'm very good at turning failures into just lessons and moving forward. You know,
Growth.
shoot, move, and communicate. We know what the problem is. Let's move forward. But that's, man, that burden's heavy, man. It's real heavy. And I think that's a lot of things that veterans need to start speaking about a little bit more. You know, I think we feel guilty speaking about that by saying when people say that stuff to us, because we didn't do it for those reasons.
Yeah.
We didn't do it for medals. We didn't do it for this. We didn't. I mean, everybody has their own reason why they did it, but I could tell you about 99% of it, veterans didn't do it for any notoriety whatsoever, because we never got none when we were in, really.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, people that don't understand are giving it to us, you know.
And it complicates things too. Whenever it's like, when you have a story where you're really trying to escape from something, you're trying to change your status in life or your place in the world, and so then all of a sudden this adoration comes at you. You don't know what to do with that, because largely you may be like, well, I was just trying to preserve my life. I was trying to engage in some self-preservation there.
Yeah.
I guess it's a complicated thing, and I've tried to get this to kind of to take root, if you will. Instead of saying thank you for your service, which, being in the uniform, there is such a variety of experiences that you can have in the uniform. And we've talked about this on a few episodes. Only about 15% of the armed forces are in combat arms, and only 15% of those roughly have, live action experiences or, real world fire. So when you say thank you for your service, those other 85% of the people are going, but I didn't do anything, when they hear that.
Yeah, I've heard people say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you say thank you for your sacrifice instead of thank you for your service, their sacrifice can be this: being away from home on Christmas. Their sacrifice can be just giving up their time. And it doesn't have to be at risk of life and limb that an increasingly smaller portion of our uniform experiences. Because, I mean, as well as I do, the way warfare is going, it's becoming less and less conventional by the year. Yeah. So those experiences are going to continue to shrink. I mean, you're always going to have operators and the high speed types that are going to be placed in those kind of very specific tasks. But we're not doing veterans any favors by putting this pressure on them to look like a Hollywood representation of what being in the military looks like.
Right.
Because that is pretty detrimental to people's mental health, to assume that they didn't do anything, they didn't do enough.
Right.
For whose standard? To society's standard?
Well, I can imagine that, because I feel that way.
Yes. And we all do.
So I only could imagine. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, And I have men and women that, served, that say those things to me. And I'm like, listen, if it weren't for you, working, in the motor pool, if it weren't for you cooking, even though I barely ever got a hot meal,
right.
We wouldn't be able to do the things we do. So we're all a team. We're not individuals. And that's what we say within the MC community as well. That, the club or, the military, it's not, no one person is greater than the club. No one active duty or veteran is greater than another, because we all played our part to make something happen, to move forward,
Yeah. And, to kind of just take it one step beyond that too, is number one, we can't tear down our own service. That's an exercise in futility.
Right.
And we can't tear down the service of others either. I was in that 15%. So mine are not representative, the majority of the uniform. So I can't, if I'm willing to say, oh, well, it was not a big deal, I just had this happen, what does that do to those who were in support staff positions, because how can they not? If you and I feel that way, how can they not?
Right.
And by proximity, we're inadvertently tearing down their service by undermining our own too, right? So you just mentioned the MC. So obviously that's a huge part of your life. I didn't know what wind therapy was until pretty recently, if I'm being honest. So let's talk about your life with the steel between your legs. No pun intended.
It's I've been riding for shit, man, probably close to it's 20 years. There's nothing like it. I don't know how to explain it. It's that freedom. There isn't much between you and the road. My big thing is, obviously I don't jump out of planes anymore. I don't rappel anymore. I don't do those things. Sometimes
that's how you get your adrenaline now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because sometimes I'm like, what the fuck did I even do? Like, why did I even do that? Yeah. But that's my thing. It's funny because it kind of wraps in with our business and what we're doing now too. Because of my business, we walk between, a lot of MCs, regardless of their politics, within the community, solo riders, everybody, veteran clubs, everything, outlaws, 1%, diamonds, everything. I also, I've done events, and I'm not going to name any clubs, but, we've had 1% clubs come and all this stuff. And it's just that I always let them know. I always give them all respect. I always let them know that we're doing this for the community. We're doing this for veterans. And most people in MCs are veterans.
Yeah.
They're the ones that started it back in the day when they come back from World War II.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Not to mention any names, because I dare not speak their names. But yeah, that was very much a part of their identity. Yeah.
So it's, it's always been a freedom for me. If I'm having issues, I can go out and I can focus and I can think. It's just always been a big part of my life, and and in the MC community, it's a big brotherhood. Obviously not everybody in the club's going to be your brother. I mean, they're your brother.
Right.
But not everybody's going to always have your back. There's different personalities, sometimes there's cliques and stuff with inside these clubs. But for the most part, when you're riding by yourself, it's great. But when you're riding in a pack of 20, 30, 40, 50 guys, and you're all in unison, you're all going 80 miles an hour, literally 2 feet apart from each other, another guy 5 feet from the left of you, and it's vice versa, front to rear. There's this something, man. There's this tunnel vision, this freedom, this brotherhood that's out there. There's guys I can call at 2 o'clock in the morning. I could be 4 hours away and they'll drive to come get me, It's something I've been missing for many, many, many years after being out. And because of what we do with our company out here in California, I've kind of been implanted into that environment for the last couple of years. And until just recently, I actually picked the club. So it's kind of military wise. You got to, go through a process. There's a hang around period. You see if you like it, if you like what they're about. They do the same with you.
Right. An audition of sorts, right?
Yeah. Right. There's background checks. There's all that kind of fun stuff. So, I just actually got in with Insano's MC. They're actually a 501c3. That's what drew me to them more than anything. Any event that we've had with what's going on with our business or veterans or fundraisers, these guys have been there. Yeah. I get support from a lot of clubs out here, tons. But they just intrigue me because they're in line with what I do. They're in line being a 501c, giving back to the community, giving back to veterans. And they've shown me that multiple times, and, and they back our company of what we're doing. So ultimately, I'm not a full patch member at this point. I actually, am paying my dues. I went through the hang around period. Now I'm doing my prospecting period at this point. But it's good to be able to be part of something, again, bigger than me. It's good to be around like-minded individuals like me,
Right.
Have that brotherhood, have that riding, have those conversations, and ultimately still being able to get back to the community. And that's another stereotype that everybody looks at. Well, all these MCs, because they watch fucking Sons of Anarchy or Mayans,
Yeah.
Everybody's a fucking criminal or this or that,
Yeah.
It's that stereotype. And the funny thing is, and I tell everybody this, so I have over 22,000 followers. But when we put out stuff for fundraisers, the MC communities within multiple clubs are the ones that come through. I just put
Right.
one out, as we're going to speak about on the 19th. Within 5 minutes, I had donations, food donations, clothing, in 5 minutes to take care of 50, 60 guys and
Right.
many women. So my biggest part is I always felt like there was this empty spot inside of me after I got out of the military, feeling alone, feeling that, like I said, somebody owes me something when I know nobody does. And just having that support. And I get that. I get that from my wife. I get that from my daughter. I get that from the family. But it's a different kind of support. And, if I go to my wife and tell her I had a bad day, somebody cut me off out here in California, or somebody hit me on my bike, which happens out here all the time.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
say, hey, I just want to go fuck this motherfucker up, or I'll stop traffic and break your fucking window. I'll rip you out of the car. I try to explain to people that me personally, need to express those things. Not saying I'm going to do them.
Right.
I need to express them so I don't. Because I'm one of them people, if you don't, not saying if you don't listen to what I'm saying, but if you ask me what's wrong and I'm trying to express my feelings to you and I feel that it's going a different way and I can't get them out, I'm going to suppress those. And then it goes in that big, dark, deep down bucket that I have from the military, that darkness that's in there that'll never go away.
Yeah.
And I put it down there. And then, as it starts to fill up, it starts to spill out. And that's when people's lives change. So I can do that with these guys. I can be like, hey, dude, I just want to smack the shit out of this dude. And they're like, yeah, man, and you leave it on the table and it's gone.
Right. Yeah. And so let's unpack that. So first is it's so within to use profanity of the military culture and to even speak aggressively. Not every aggressive word is a veiled threat, so to speak.
Right.
Because it's just a cultural identity that we have within the military identity. So I think we get so used to communicating that way. And then whenever we get out, you're right. People go, am I in danger?
Right.
You kind of have to go, no, I'm just blowing off some
steam. I call it, I'm just
Yeah.
very passionate. That's what I tell
Yeah,
them.
okay. Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt. They're like, you're angry. And I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just very passionate about what I believe in. It's
right.
So it can be mistaken for that, I guess, sometimes the way I say it, because I'm actually being very good on here about swearing right now. So.
Yeah, no, I know you are. I've seen some of your live videos. But I guess that's one of the we have talked about is, there's different social scripts that we all have, and depending upon what culture you're talking about. Like when you're out in the MC culture, there is a complete shorthand that you can just walk through, that you don't have to explain anything, that's your authentic self in that culture. But then as you go, I don't know, you go into a different culture where maybe people are a little bit more straight-laced, then you go out into that, there you have to almost censor yourself a little bit. And one of the things that we've talked about is matching the social script and the expectation to the environment, right? Like in the anger episode that I talked about, in our military identity, somebody being late for a meeting, that's a huge slap in the face. So, but in the civilian world, not as much, right? People are late all the time, especially you're in California, right? People are always late, right? You're just locked down on the 405, right?
Full disclosure, I love California, but the people here are a little bit relaxed on shit.
Okay.
Look, I always live by, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. That's what I teach my daughter for work, for school, for everything. And then you have people that you know, that are supposed to be somewhere at 1 o'clock and it's 1:15, 1:30, and they want to ask me if I'm ready to go. Like it's
Right.
irritating. So
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I really can. But in this is the civilian world, that's not really as stated intent as it is within the military. And really, it's because I think, and this is what we talked about in that anger episode, is it's a status thing. Our commanding officers can just walk in 15 minutes late and nobody ever says anything to them. But if you're an E4, like, and you walked in 5 minutes or 5 seconds late, man, you're going to get reamed.
dude, you
And
were
so,
AWOL, you weren't here. Like,
yeah, right. So, and now in our civilian life or our veteran life, we understand that those restraints are no longer put on us, and we can be like, I'm important too. Like, you're not going to be late to a meeting with me. I'm important too now. And that's really our baggage, though. It's not theirs.
right.
And we have to choose the appropriate script, if you will, in our social interactions with different cultures. And so that we choose the right culture, social script, if you will, for the and that can be difficult to navigate at first. And that's kind of sounds like you've figured out a way to at least have some revision process of what script I should use in real time.
Yeah, you know, it's I'm very big on feeling out the environment I'm in, but I also got told something by a very, very good friend. And by the way, he was a 19 Delta Purple Heart recipient. This guy has been through some shit. You want to have a good fucking story on here? I'll give you his information, man.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
But he told me one day, he said, listen, because we were talking about club stuff and how I'm trying to hold people to standards. And he's like, look, man, I was told once, and I'm going to tell you this. He goes, not everybody was in the military. Not everybody has the same thought process as you guys do. We need people like you, but you need to give people a break. They're not you.
Yeah.
So it's holding people up to those expectations that we hold for ourselves of not failing and being better and always being the best. And we can't always do that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I don't have it handled 100%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'll pull up somewhere and somebody's supposed to be there and I'll still be motherfucking them the whole time. Yeah. But when they show up, I smile and I'm like, it's tough because I feel like shit. If it says I have to be somewhere at 7 o'clock and it's like 6:59, I'm like, shit, man, like I cannot go in here late. Like, but that's another expectation I put on myself, as we were speaking about before, and it's like those things are hard to break. They're real hard to break,
Yeah. And I guess the important thing is having high standards or even expectations for yourself. Those are important, but I guess where things kind of go amiss is, are they realistic expectations for ourselves and for others? Because I can't be perfect in everything. I can't be the best at everything. So I have to choose a few things that I can really be good at something. Like we were joking about before we started recording about, yeah, man, I always wanted to ride motorcycles. I really did. But I've been on 2 and I put both of them down, probably just not in the cards for me. So the idea of me being, a really proficient motorcycle rider, probably not the best of strategy for me, but I can be great at things like psychology. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we just got to focus on our strengths, and then, pretty much come to a conclusion on our weaknesses and try to make a conscious effort. That's the hardest thing, especially when you think like that and you hold yourself to those standards, and then you think, you need to change something, because most of the time the people around you aren't going to change. So the only way it's going to be easier for you is if you make that change.
Right.
Then the fight within that is, why do I have to make that step to make that change when I've done so much already just for me to get through a day without smacking the shit out of somebody? Like it's that's another difficult thing, and it's like you're constantly, man, my mind goes a million times a minute. I barely sleep, so it's like, it's trying to get that calmness within everything, and you just have to find that way to relax, that way to take a step back and realize that not everybody's perfect, that we're not perfect, and we're not always going to be, strive to be the best, but you're not always going to be the best,
Yeah. So what do you do to relax? I mean, obviously, the MC and writing's a big part of your life. So what do you do though to kind of decompress outside of that?
Oh shit, man. I'll tell you.
Sleep, right?
My other decompress, really, believe it or not, is what we do with the community and with our company, giving back. That has been my biggest therapy I've had is that so let me give you a little backstory. So about last year, I had a really good friend. He was an older guy, a veteran that got a brain tumor and had cancer. So I was brought in by the family. I was given an opportunity to help out with him. The family didn't always do the best of things that he needed. So I pretty much, did everything. We dressed them, we bathed them. I even helped remodel their house so they can move the wheelchair around. We spent a lot of time together, and I was there the night he passed, and I kind of didn't know what to do with myself after that. So what I did is I have a 2019 Street Glide special, that has over $15,000 worth of aftermarket work and parts to it. And I was just sitting on it one day, and I was like, I'm going to get a ride together in William Moran's memory, and I'm going to raise some money and give it to the family. And then I'm going to raffle off this bike. I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to raffle off this bike and help out with mental health awareness and homeless veterans. So, which we started doing tickets, like 500 tickets. We lowered the ticket price because it was a little difficult during COVID for some people to get involved. But it's actually still going on. We're going to give it away January 16th of 2022. I got involved that way. So I kind of just got into the community out here, didn't know a ton of people. Had my bike out at an event with one of my friends from Bagger Society. And I saw this line next to a tent, a canopy next to us. And I'm like, man, what the hell are these guys doing? There's a freaking line up to this tent. Like, are they selling crack or something? Dude's selling cigars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So immediately in my head, I'm like, okay. So
I went the hustle. Yeah.
I went home. I had $700 to my name. The beginning of this year, probably about April. So I went out to all these cigar shops and were like, hey, can you give me a deal? And I didn't know if I was getting a deal or what was going on. So I started buying cigars, and I started with $700. And then I'm like, hey, let's do one better. I'm going to find some charred oak barrels that I can buy. And then I'm going to put like liquor in them, let it soak up, and we'll infuse them for 6 to 8 weeks in here. And then we'll put them in a cooler for another 2 weeks to age them. So I started doing that. The business took off. So what we did this whole time, though, even though we were just starting out, 100% of our net proceeds goes back to homeless veterans and mental health awareness. So we're with a ton of 501cs out here, helping them out. We donate to the VFW, Elks, Lodge, everything that we can that has to do with veterans that we check out and make sure, because I've made my mistakes.
Sure. Yeah.
I've donated to people that were supposed to be for veterans and this and that, and it turned out they weren't. So now I vet everybody I get involved with and make sure that it's going to the right spot. But we kind of expanded to apparel, expanded to accessories. We took some wrong turns here and there, but I'll tell you, in the last 6 months, from $700, we did about $180,000. So
wow. Goodness.
On cigars, it's freaking crazy, man. But within this environment, it's a great thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then we have the bike raffle. So what we do is we'll go out to events and we'll donate this way. So if it's something for muscular dystrophy or cancer, I'll donate $100, $200 to get tickets for prizes. Yeah. When we win, I raffle that stuff off at our events to give back to the veterans. And like I said, after everything's paid for, we go back to veterans. I think we've donated over I think after putting everything back into the business to grow, we've put about $36,000 donation in 6 months towards veterans, homeless veterans, and mental health awareness. So,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
we've helped out a ton of, veterans that are on the street, veterans that are homeless that have children, and we keep donating to get them in. And now with our following, it's even better now because it's not only I put out more money than I bring in. I'll be honest with you. It's a killer. I would love to pay myself someday. I'm hoping 2022.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah.
But it's just when I found that it's just crazy how my trained mind is and how I want to be better and I want to do the best I can, and how better to do that than give back to veterans that need it from somebody that understands, from somebody at a point in their life was, addicted to drugs, been abused physically, mentally, sexually, went into the military, came out, got on the streets, lived out of a car, sold drugs, was addicted to drugs, got better. And then now I get to give that knowledge back to other people. And I've had people call me and they're like, dude, what you said today, like, I'm not a vet, but you saved my life. Or, I had a veteran call me I get them all the time at 2:00 in the morning from Alaska. And he's like, hey bro, I just need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, man, no problem. And he's like, I have beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, but every day it's a struggle not to put a gun in my mouth. And it's just, we have counselors and we have people that do therapy and all the stuff that I can get them in contact with, because I can only help so much. And it was starting to take a toll on me.
Sure.
I had to take a pretty good little break, because when that guy called me from Alaska and said that, it destroyed me. It just hit. I mean, I've heard it a million times, but for some reason, what that guy said to me destroyed me. You never know when it's going to happen.
It's the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, man. It just, it got to me. It really destroyed me. I almost quit doing what we were doing. Yeah. And then, that the guy I was telling you about, Iron Man, he is a partner in our company as well. And he was like, dude, if you quit, all these people that you help are not going to have you anymore. They're not going to have the help that you have. And it made me like go, you're right, dude. Like, I got to keep going no matter what, no matter how heavy this is, no matter how much this burden is. And that's why I get so passionate and crazy on my lives. Because when I see people being disrespectful or screwing over veterans, regardless if it's the county, the government, or other veterans or whatever it may be, I really dig into people, because I love what I do and I love what we've built and I love what we've become to be able to help the community, and now we're creating an army, man. We have an army of our own, a throat punch army that ultimately helps us in every avenue. They repost our stuff. People drive 2-3 hours to our events to come talk to us. Man, I can't get nobody to buy shit on my website. They want to come out and see us in person, which is a great thing. It's a great thing, and I take my time. We'll be at an event for 10-12 hours and I'll literally be in my canopy for maybe 20 minutes because I'm constantly hooking people up and talking to them and being that friend that people need. And I'm happy I'm that type of person that can give them that connection, because I put walls up for so long, man. And I'm like, and then I've tried to come out of my comfort zone and talk to people and I got screwed over. And then I'm like, it's not always those people. Again, it's my expectations and how I think of things in life. And I need to change that. So therefore I can help more people.
Yeah. So I just want to say, so what you're talking about is you're in the helping profession now. I mean,
it's not certified.
Right. Well, no, I mean, that's funny. We'll get to that in a second. The thing that we always talk about from the mental health perspective is practicing good self-care, because you cannot continue to give to people without making sure your cup gets replenished too. Right. And that's kind of sounds like that's what's going on, man, is that's a heavy responsibility to think about. You've raised all this money, you've done all this good for these people, and you can see the direct fruits of your labor. So it makes it tangible for you. Most of the time in the mental health profession, we don't see the direct benefits
Right.
of the things we do in our clients' lives. So you get to see them in real time, right?
Right.
So there is a sense of, oh man, I really got to make sure I get this right, which puts a lot of pressure on yourself, right? And
Yeah.
then when you've got so much to do, there's so many people coming at you, and you're taking ownership for so much in the world. That's going to take a lot from you. And I know that we talked kind of almost casually about, well, what do you do to decompress? But that's a part of self care, man. You got to find
I
something
know.
that you can really because you're right, this has to be a sustainable effort. Your buddy is absolutely 100% correct. Is you've started something really awesome, and it sounds like it's taken off even faster than you
Oh man,
expected.
yeah, it's insane.
And you got to get your bearings and find ways to recharge your batteries so that you can keep giving to others. And that's just my 2 cents on
Yeah,
that one.
well, it's a good 2 cents, and I'll put that in my pocket. And I usually don't like change, but it's
That's
no,
funny.
it's definitely
Clever.
good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, man. Like
Yeah.
yeah, because if I'm not mentally uh, okay, I'm not going to be able to help anybody else out.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I have learned. I do
Yeah.
take at least once a month. We go away for a couple days. We recharge. The phones go off. It has to. The other part of, you know, which is hard because I'm always feel like I'm going to miss something that could benefit and help somebody.
Yeah.
We were hitting 4 to 8 events a week, man, in a 7-day week. So it's a little insane.
Yeah. No.
Now we're doing about 4 to 5 a month just through, October, November, December, and probably January is going to start picking back up. But it's funny because I was like, hey, this is going to be our relaxed time a little bit. We can recoup. We can, do more stuff, which we are. But now I feel like I'm even more busy, man. Like I feel, we have podcasts, and which is awesome. Thank you for having us on and being able to put this out here. And then I have a magazine that wants to do an article, and then they want to film some stuff when we go down on the 19th. And I have to, it just doesn't stop, but I don't want to not do it because that's what's going to get us out there more. That's what's going to bridge that gap within the community and ultimately help more vets. So that's another catch-22. It's hard. It's like, I need to take that time for myself, which is hard because I get so much out of this. I get so much on a daily basis when I go down the Veterans Row and I see these guys down there and I get their stories, I sit with them. I commissioned one of them. His name's Doug. He's a painter. I commissioned him to do some paintings for us. And we're going to auction those off. And that ultimately the money from that is just going to go right back into, helping out with mental health awareness and the homeless population out here with them. So I'm always trying to find a way to intertwine this. So ultimately it just goes right back into it, which is a lot, That's a lot on its own. And then keeping up on, I answer everybody on social media, man. And that's probably another problem too. It's like, they'll be like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm like, great. Thank you. And cause I want to acknowledge that people are listening, that people are making a difference as well as us,
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get to that point where there's so many of us, when I have to take a step back, there's going to be other people that can step forward and continue with this movement. I'm never going to stop until my last breath. And then when my last breath is over, we have that army to keep going,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's man, it's been a tough, but great and rewarding time. And it's only going to get even better this year. And I can't wait,
So can we explain something? Because I had never heard of this until you and I talked for the first time on Saturday. And I've got listeners in Germany and Japan and all over the nation. So what exactly is Veterans Row? I mean, I know that's something specifically to the Los Angeles area.
Yeah. So obviously they have a lot of people worldwide have heard about Skid Row,
right?
Which is terrible. We were down there on Thanksgiving. So Veterans Row, the VA in Brentwood is off the 405 here in California. And on the one side of the highway is the Los Angeles Memorial Veterans Cemetery. On the other side is a huge VA. Acres and acres and acres. So back in 1888, they were given like 367 acres to the veterans. It's not the federal governments. It's not the VAs. It's not the states. None of that. It belongs to veterans.
You said in what year was this?
1888.
1880. Okay.
So after the Korean War, there was over 4,000 homeless veterans living there within that community, within the barracks on that place. Well, right now, so about 6 months ago, the director of the Veteran Affairs here called the sheriffs to get all the, so it was called Tent City inside the VA, inside the gates. They had their own little area. You could go in and take them. We did a memorial run and we took them socks and some food and stuff like that. Well, the sheriffs came in and kicked them out. And they said, hey, we're going to have all these services for them. Well, people were asking them, what services are you going to have for them? Like, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? What do you guys have set up? No answers. And then the sheriff says, well, when we're done here, we'll power wash the pavement. Like, are you kidding me? So after you kick out patriots that fought for this country that have nowhere else to go, that the VA denied benefits to, and that's why they're staying here on land that they were given, now you're kicking them off. So what that did is they started locking the gate at 4:30 p.m. till 8:30 in the morning. So if you were a homeless vet trying to better yourself, had a bus pass, were in LA, trying to get a job, didn't make it back by 4:30, you couldn't get in the gates. So everybody started staying on the street outside of the gates, and they call it Veterans. So we went down there multiple times. We went down with Oath the Country Foundation, Justin and Eddie and Sergeant Solo and Semper Tillis. Like, these are a lot of guys that do a lot for the community out here as well. We got hooked up with them. You know, we went out and gave out clothes and socks and hygiene products and all that, and it's been fine. Well, Vets for Success, I work with them too on their own IG. What they did is they did a petition to get 30,000 signatures because of the illegal land seizure that the VA has done to the veterans. I think they have all the signatures, but they're trying to get it in on the agenda at Brentwood and through the county, LA County. Well, they never put it on there because they don't want to vote on it.
Right.
So we pushed so hard, and I filmed, and with all our followers, the VA got so fed up that they called the sheriffs again. November 1st, they went down there and wiped the whole street out and let them go back inside. Now, they were supposed to have 50 to 60 little, you know, those tiny homes built for them, like the really small ones. They were funded. They were supposed to have everything done. They only have 3. So Oath the Country Foundation went in and supplied tents for everybody. You know, they cleaned up the area. Now all the guys are inside. So what I do is on the holidays, I'll put out a fundraiser, or I'll put out, you know, I got a guy from Derek from the Rub Down Smokehouses giving us smoked hams, like 4 hams. So I needed other stuff. So I'm like, hey, man, let's get a whole bunch of people together. Let's get people to cut people's hair. Let's give out socks, you know, underwear, some clothes that we have. Let's feed them a Christmas dinner early. Yeah. So I started getting phone calls last week saying, hey, man, you got to check with these people at the VA or they aren't going to let you in. They're being considered patients now. So I got a hold of this guy named Dave at the VA, which supposedly he's a veteran as well. And I said to him, hey, man, what do we have to do to get in there to have this dinner for these guys? Well, you have to be certified. I was like, what do you mean certified? And he wouldn't really answer me. I said, well, I'm a vet and I have my VA card. That certifies me to be on that property. You can't tell me I can't be on that property. So and then he goes, well, there's a plan A and a plan B and a C. And I said, and he only told me A and C was to set up across the street from the VA. And I said, well, what's plan B, dude? Wouldn't tell me. And I said, well, I guess I'm going plan C. We're going to set up across the street. We're not going to be on the VA's property, which ultimately we should be allowed on. And I asked him, I said, hey, I heard that you guys are considering all these homeless veterans to be patients. I said, what are they being treated for? And he couldn't answer me. And I said, and if they're being considered patients and you won't tell me what they're being treated for, why are the patients sleeping outside in a tent? No answer.
Yeah.
So my problem is, and I asked him, I said, how do you sleep at night, dude? And he's like, oh, I sleep quite well. And I said, well, then I don't understand that if you're a veteran and you're doing this and you're protecting the VA of what's going on right now, the illegal land seizure, not letting people in to see them. So pretty much what they're doing now is considering them patients to allow them on the property, but they're not allowed in the multiple barracks that they have on site that are empty. By the way, out of the 364, 67 acres that they were given, they're leasing it out to the Brentwood High School and other multiple businesses that I have list of. So not only are they, that's like you buying the house you're in right now. I come over and tell you to go sleep in the backyard, and then I rent it out as an Airbnb, and I take the money while you're paying the mortgage. It's just not, it's not right what's going on. So now they all know we're coming down there. So I'm sure the sheriffs are going to be there. We got a ton of MCs coming down there that are helping out the community, a ton of 501Cs that are coming out, and I'll be damned, we're still going. I told everybody this isn't a protest. We're not going down there to be negative. I was told that they're going to put agitators within our group. So I told everybody we're not going down there to prove a point. We're going down to feed heroes and patriots that fought for the blanket of freedom that everybody lives under on a daily basis. So we're going to film it when we go down there. I'm really hoping nothing gets crazy and started. But, I mean, if the sheriffs start arresting veterans and community members for trying to feed homeless veterans a Christmas dinner and give them new pairs of socks, it's going to look real bad for them. But at this point, honestly, man, I wouldn't put it past the VA. I wouldn't. I really, I don't understand what's going on out here. I don't understand why there's so many unanswered questions, why everything's being hidden. Just a couple of weeks, this story went national. It was all over the nation. And after a day, it was gone, you know, and that's part of what we were talking about earlier about, you know, when you feel alone and the mental health awareness and the suicide prevention. I try to explain to people 22 a day, one is too many. And 22 is just an estimate on the statistics of the numbers of really what's going on, because over 104,000 veterans that served this country proudly and honorably have committed suicide. That's way too many. And that's the big problem. And that's why I'm on my lives all the time. Just, I'll put it out there. I get in people's faces about stuff, you know. I don't threaten anybody. I just tell the facts after I'm educated on a situation. I also don't look at just my side of what's going on. I look at all aspects. I want to make sure that I'm putting stuff out there correctly. I don't want to misinform anybody. It angers me. It disgusts me about what's going on in this country today with people that fought for this country, you know? And if I think it pushes people, me being a veteran and being gone through what I've gone through, and then starting a business after going through what I've gone through in my life and giving it 100% of the net proceeds back to the community pushes people to become more aware of what's going on. And that's all we want. You know, I'm going to give until I have no more to give. But we need those other people to do the same thing. And I'll tell you, it's another catch-22. You know, when we're down at Skid Row, it's like, I feel like an enabler. I know it sounds crazy to say, but we're coming down, we're giving people food and we're giving them blankets and we're giving them this. But at the same time, are we enabling the behavior for them to stay down there and nobody step up to move them to a different area to have a good life? When is enough going to be enough? Is there ever going to be enough? This fight is always going to go on. And that's what I fight with personally myself. And that's why I run myself ragged, you know, because somebody's got to do it, you know. And if I can make this army of ours or whatever big enough for other people to keep moving, or for them, that light bulb to go off one day to help others out and to help your community and to move forward and be positive, I've done my job, man, you know, and that's all I want to do.
How familiar were you with the term advocate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with it. Every advocate I've dealt with hasn't really been an advocate, but
Well, what I mean is, people who are advocates or who practice advocacy are just spirited people like yourself who shine a light onto issues that we have within the society or within a population. And that sounds like that's exactly what you are. You may not have credentials or certifications, but you're just as much of a credible speaker as anybody else to talk about the issues that disproportionately affect the population. Um, as far as the enabling thing, I think that's a complicated issue, or that's a complicated question. Most people who are in the predicament in which you speak of obviously have many complicated things happening in their lives. Mental health issues, substance abuse issues are often comorbid with those as well. So I don't think that it's going to be an easy solution or an easy question to answer, but they still need help. And you're finding purpose in being a bearer of light upon these issues and using your time and energy to direct help to those people. So I guess I say all that to say this is, man, I love what you're doing, and please don't undercut what you're doing there. I mean, those people need you. You're a vital part of that community, clearly. And let's talk about what happens then on Saturday. It's Saturday,
so
right?
it's Sunday.
Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just all going to meet up over at the Memorial Cemetery, and everybody that's coming out, which has been insane so far. And we're going to meet up and go over there as a group, because I don't want to get over there and start setting up and start being attacked by the VA, or if the sheriffs come over, whatever, because it's a really hot button around here.
I'm sure.
And when I speak about stuff on here, they pay attention. And, if I'm coming around, it's, they're going to probably try to aggravate. But yeah, mainly, man, we got the community together, MCs, veterans. We got, a couple veteran MCs that are coming down as well. And 501Cs, Vets for Success. And we're just we're going to cook a dinner, man, and we're going to hand it out. And we're going to try to make, this Sunday a good day for them, and let them know that no matter what, we're always thinking about them, and we're not going to give up, and we're always going to be here for them, and anything they need, we're going to fight for you.
Yeah. So let me just say one last thing, though, about that is, I've talked several times at this point about the VA being a system made up of individuals who some are good at their job, some are not good at their job. And bureaucracy itself can obviously be cumbersome. So I know that you have taken this issue quite personally at times, but the VA largely, it's within the national setting, is doing a lot for the VA, or for the veterans.
Right. And I don't ever want to come out and say, hey, the VA is this and that. And I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just educating on what's going on here.
Right.
So, and my thing is not to sit here and be like, this is what you're doing, this is what you need to do. My thing is, I want to get to a point where we can all sit down and come to an agreement and move forward on a situation. Let's make this a happy ending. Let's make this a good thing. Let's make the VA the hero. I think the VA out here has been running so long, and they're just creating so many issues as they run from the issue, and it can't be hidden. Everything's public anymore. There's so much transparency out there today that it's just, you can't hide this shit,
And I know, and I just, anyone that was listening that may have thought that was your intent, of course, because you and I have talked a little bit more personally. I just wanted to make sure that was quite clear, that there is no condemnation for the VA, generally speaking, that there's just this issue that needs to be addressed. And I have spoke before about being your own agent of change within the VA, and you have to advocate for your own quality of care within the system itself by participating within it and being an honest interlocutor within the VA system. And so they do a lot for us. But that doesn't mean that the system doesn't have some improvements to make.
Right. And that's what I mean. I wish we could have to sit down and do this. I wish it didn't have to be this way. I wish I didn't have to climb the walls and cut through that red tape just to give somebody a helping hand.
Yeah.
And I have simple questions. That's all. If somebody's a patient, I don't need to know their file, but what are you treating them for? And if you're treating them and they're considered a patient, why are they outside?
Yeah.
Those
are fair questions.
That's a scary thing. Now, if you give me an answer that makes sense, or you're trying to move them somewhere else or whatever, great. Let's get it out there. Let's put it out there. I want to be that advocate for change on both sides.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm only seeing change on the community's end because I have their backing, I would love to have the VA's backing. I've had my own bad experiences with the VA. And as you just said, I didn't make the best out of it on my end.
Yeah.
I went through a process there, as I was speaking a little bit earlier, and I had migraines really bad and some other injuries, and they were putting me on pain pills and this and that and whatever. And my choice ultimately in this was the abuse started, and I get that, and that's not the VA's fault. I did have to fight to get the help, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the help was there and offered, but my addiction controlled that as well.
Yeah.
The VA can be a wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah.
We just need to find those advocates within that can help us navigate the system, because as in the military, paperwork has to be perfect and this and that to fall within this ranking to do this. And I get that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes
so just to reiterate, the VA does a lot to help the community at large. And that doesn't mean though that there's not still lots of room to improve,
I think that's mainly our main goal, to get awareness out there of what's going on and not point the finger. It's to facilitate helping, to advocate, like we talked earlier, to see if there's another route we can go to make things better. That's mainly our thing. Sometimes it has to get a little dirty, I guess, to get cleaned up. But that's our goal. Our goal is not to point the finger and then, walk away from the situation, I tell people all the time, when we know what the problem is here, that's great. Let's not just sit in it and sulk in it and sit in that shit. Let's move forward. Let's come up with a plan to move forward and make it better. And I think that's a big problem that's going on these days. Everybody complains about everything that's going on, and there's a lot of problems and there needs to be a lot of fixes, but let's fix the things we can, getting in somebody's face or downing other people doesn't always work. My main goal is just to let the community, let the VA, let the government know that we see what's going on, and let's just move forward. Let's make it better. Let's make it better for the people that fought for this country,
And for sure. And I think this brings us full circle, is understanding when we talk about expectations for other people, there's a certain generosity we have to extend to others, and specifically people within the VA, that they care to, and that they want the best for veterans as well as we do. And I think that brings us a lot more fulfillment in life if we'll extend a certain generosity to other people and be gracious for the efforts in which they are doing. And we can move a lot more to getting to where we want to be within the veteran population if we treat each other as if we're both responsible for helping others.
And I think that's a big part too, because there is an advocate down there. He used to be homeless. His name's Rob. It's been on the news multiple times, but he knows every one of these veterans that are homeless down there. He advocates for them, helps them get paperwork done and everything else to be able to get into the VA, to fill out that paperwork, to move forward. So I think that's a good talking point when we meet up with him again, maybe after this, giving back on this Sunday, is let's get with the VA, let's sit down, and let's have like a fundraiser fair here. Let's see what the problems are. Let's try to work together, because then with my following and everything that's going on, if they see that the VA is sitting down and working with us, that thought process is going to change for everybody. So
sure,
that's our goal. Of course I'm pissed about a lot of things that are going on, but that's the first emotion that comes up in most things when you're disappointed or whatever. It's that anger. We just need to make sure we don't feed off of that and cause more of a problem than a solution.
Yeah. And, to your point, anger will cover pain, because disappointment is pain.
Yeah.
And although that may be the surface emotion, which is the anger, that's the one that we can most readily identify. It takes a little digging to get to the point is there's actually disappointment. There's pain.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you feel like we need to put out so that everybody is, I guess, understands exactly what your mission is?
I mean, pretty much like I said, my business is, we do premium infused cigars for the public.
Yeah.
We have apparel, and 100% of the net proceeds goes back to mental health awareness and homeless veterans. Just getting people to, pay attention to our lives, pay attention to what we're doing within the community, to broaden the horizon and thinking. It's as simple as what I try to explain to people all the time is that, we've been to other countries. We've seen a lot worse off.
Sure.
Americans think this is the worst it can ever get right now. Yeah, and they have no freaking clue. We have it great. And as much as gas prices suck and housing and whatever else is going on, we need to stop the segregation within the communities, within the races, within civilians, within active duty, within veterans. We need to come together and find that common ground. And we all have it. We're all human beings. We all have feelings. We all bleed.
Yeah.
We need to come together and make that effort to be a better person today than we were yesterday. And if we do that, it's going to rub off on other people around us. We're in control of this nation.
Yeah.
The government is whatever. We elect those people. They make laws, whatever. Great. People agree. They don't agree. They like the president. They don't, whatever. I don't get into the whole political bullshit, because that's a whole nother freaking animal, and we'll never get to helping people.
Sure.
But if we can come together and be united as a community, be united for the people that fought for this country, are fighting, and are going to become veterans later, and it's going to continue. It's only going to get better. Our communities are going to get better. We're going to build upon that positivity and move forward. And once that starts happening, you ain't going to be able to stop that train. You're not going to be able to stop it. And we're the ones that need to make the difference. So that's why I tell people, complaining about something, great, we've identified it. Let's just move forward. We got to do that. We have to move forward if we're going to succeed.
Yeah. Well, I love the optimism. I share it as well. It's one of the reasons why I love to have these conversations with people, is to put forth the optimistic voice in the wilderness, so to speak. So that beyond all the noise that you hear about the condition of the world or the state of the day, that here we are, another example of somebody doing well and doing good in the world.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably a good place to stop. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the only other thing would be we can let everybody know if you have any ideas or want to help out, you can get a hold of us at veteranheroes22@gmail.com or throat_punch 412_OG. You can follow us on Instagram. And there's a link to our bio if people want to donate or buy some of our products that we have that are ultimately supporting veterans that make this possible. Would be great, man. It's we all work together and we all help out within that community. So
Yeah. Now, I mean, and I think that you had mentioned throat punch before, but I don't think we actually did exactly.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the name of my company. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
funny thing is we named it that because people ask me all the time and I'm like, well, I'll be honest, 99% of the time on a daily basis, I want to punch somebody in their throat. But that's my expectations that I'm holding over people. So I think when I see that on our clothing or our hats or sweatshirts, it makes me realize that that's not always a positive way to think. I don't know how to explain it. It's always a daily reminder to just be a better person, to continue to give back and help out within the community and make other people's lives better. And that all starts within our family and our household, and if we can do that within our household with our kids and our wives or husbands, whatever is going on in there, it's just going to get better, man. It's like we talked, it's a heavy load, but I'm never going to stop. You're going to have to take that last breath out of me before I stop. So
yeah, well, I can dig it, man. And I, as somebody who has, obviously you can see our logo there at the top corner. I have my own edginess, man. So there was no judgment on this end from Throat Punch. But if you've enjoyed having heard the conversation between me and Pikey, and you would like to spread the word to others, please do so, because as we've talked numerous times at this point before, we can't do this alone. Like Sean and I were just talking about, there are so many places where we need help from the community at large. And that's just one small thing you can do, is by spreading the word, letting other people know about the good work that other people are doing to support the community and to give back to the veteran population. So if there's any other topics that you would like to have covered here on Vet with the Mic, please also reach out to me on social media. At this point, I think we've talked about them numerous times. You know where to find me. But as always, however life may find you, I hope life finds you well. Till next time.